All right, hello everybody. Here we are. Welcome to our second office hour in the XMOOC. I'm Michael Nebeling, and I am the instructor in the course. I'm also a professor at the University of Michigan, and I'm just gonna start our office hour here. As in the last one, I have a few things prepared, and but also wanted to leave more time for questions. So the last office hour was focused on A-frame. We did both AR and VR in A-frame, and kind of like had a good overview. So we were doing a solar system that I was doing in the second course. I was taking it basically into A-frame through various stages, and then added some interactivity. A bit of a 3D model was just a tiny lunar module for landing on the moon, and then it had like all these different kinds of. Did I have a link in here? I thought I had a link in here. It looked like this in the end. So so today we're going to do Unity. There was an error starting the editor. That is interesting. Let me just quickly log in. I guess I haven't prepared this A-frame part anymore, but it should just take me there nonetheless. So I'll show you what we had in, that's my other course, what we had in the last office hour, roughly. It was like a starting point that looked a little boring. And then I created a new version, a V2, and then we had an index 3D HTML, for example. And I did it in VR and in AR and so forth. It just doesn't seem to load any textures at the moment. That is a bit sad. Wonder what's going on here. So, well, rather than, so I showed how to do all the textures and debugging and all that, and it actually looked like this. As you can see here on the right. So it was blue background, faded, we had Earth going around the sun, and we had moon going around the Earth. So, so that was what I did last time. So let's jump into today's office hours. So this is the second of a series of 3 office hours in this XMOOC that I'm doing this semester at least. This one is focused on virtual reality with Unity. And so the office hours, I mean, we are allowed to ask any questions, and we can talk about everything in about, I would say, 35, 40 minutes. Maybe more like 35. Don't have so much prepared today. I can always show more. You're allowed to talk about any course, but I'll focus, for my content here, I'll focus on the third course. That is the course focused on development. It is like all the other courses structured into 4 weeks, and it has an honors track, and we'll focus on assignments in the honors track. And for this office hour today specifically, we just focus on the VR assignment, and then I have another one in Unity on AR in a couple of weeks. And yeah, so this is where we are, basically the second one of 3 planned for this semester. So let's jump right into Unity. The first thing, so these office hours, I usually come with a few tips, but basically I want to get you ready to work on the assignments. And we're just going to make sure that maybe everybody else is muted unless there are questions. And I'm just going to make sure that that's the case. Although I'm not a host, so I can't do that. So Angela, you need to help with this. We have a few participants that are currently not muted. And so, and I'll ask for questions later, and just go through this first part first. So we'll have Unity here. When I took the screenshot, which is like, well, actually, the screenshot is probably not from too long ago, but I set everything up on my computer in December. And so right now, Unity Hub is, I'm currently in the beta channel of Unity Hub, so it has this black look. Maybe it looks gray for you, depending on which version of Unity Hub you're using. So we're using Unity Hub to manage different kinds of Unity installations. I was using the latest long-term support LTS version at the time. But if I wanted to install a new editor right now, it would be 2023 30F1. So I'm working with 26F1, but I don't think I'm doing anything where that you would see any differences. What I'm not doing is working with 2022, which is a pre-release beta. And I'm also not working with any 2021 versions. I'm still stuck in 2020. And that's fine for the purposes of our course and the purposes of the assignment. And I do this because some of the toolkits that I'm using for the VR and AR portions in Unity, they just have the best support they're currently tested with these versions, and they recommend you to use the long-term LTS, long-term support versions. And then what I usually do, I'm not going to stand here and now install for you, but there's actually video of me installing things. Associated with the office hour, I'm also releasing a number of YouTube videos. I give the link at the end, or I can actually just post it right now. I can post it into the channel. So these here. So this is our YouTube playlist, and I'm just going to post that in the channel, in the Zoom chat. So what I cover here is basically I'm taking video, I'm showing you what is in. So I'm going through my assignments today, and I'll link you to what's in the YouTube playlist. But this is something that you should do in your own time. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to play these videos now. It's not just a YouTube playlist. But basically, I also add the second office hours. I added the one from last week. So the second office hours this week today, I'll probably insert right here before the Unity portion starts. And then I have quite a few videos on how to do things in Unity. And these are meant to be so that I can be there with you if you work on the assignments, and it feels like you can follow more along. These are not videos that I cut in any way. So it really takes 30 minutes to deploy things to a headset. It's real time. But for the office hours, that would not be productive. So I wanted to show you quickly what I install when I get my Unity ready. So when I do a new Unity installation, I'll choose the Studio, the Microsoft Visual Studio Community Edition. And then I usually do Android build support, and I need both. You need to select everything here. So the Android SDK, the NDK, and the OpenJDK. And I need this because I want to deploy it to my Quest 2, and the Quest 2 is an Android-based virtual reality headset. And so if you have a Rift S, which is already connected to a computer, like this one is black, and then you do not need to install the build support. But if you want to deploy it to a headset like the Quest 2, it's Android based. You need all this stuff. And so this is actually quite heavy in terms of installation. It's almost 2 gigabytes that you just need to install. So I have all that for my current install. And then I'm going to just do quickly a new project in this version. And so when I start a new project, I usually just start from the 3D template. There are, except for when I do an AR foundation project. So when I do an AR foundation project, so AR next week, next office hour in 2 weeks, I think, that's the only time I actually choose a template that is not 3D. So I would choose the AR template. And so for any new project in the VR space, I usually start from the 3D template, even though you're tempted to say, yeah, my office hour project. Yeah, I'm doing a VR project, therefore I should choose the VR template. But I'm not necessarily using all the Unity stuff. I'm actually not even sure what the, yeah, this is opening in the background. I'm just going to try one more time. I'm not going to actually select it, but just curious what they actually put in there. It's probably XR Interaction Toolkit, maybe. No, it's just, you could actually technically start from this, to be honest. There's nothing wrong in here. There's nothing wrong in there that would actually make it not a good starting point. But yeah. Okay, so this is, I mean, at least from the package list, it looks like there's nothing wrong in there. So I'm opening the Unity editor in the background. I'm just jumping back to my slides. Here is actually my new Unity project. So what I'm not doing now is clicking around, like, I mean, not doing too much. So in the example scene that I'll create, I'll put a cube roughly maybe a little bit away from the camera. So the camera is, oops, then we should do it along the Z-axis. The camera is there, and right. So Z and Y up. Okay. So it's interesting. Working in these different tools, they always have different coordinate systems, right-handed versus left-handed. And then Unreal Engine is like the Z-axis is up rather than the Y-axis. So it's this, and sometimes when I switch between them, it needs like just 1 second to get calibrated to them again. But anyway, so in some of the examples, what I actually create the whole solar system in my videos. So I'll play some of it, but basically it's basic 3D operations, transforms, putting things together. And I'll show you the project in a second. So this would be my new kind of like my new project. And in order, so when you press play now, it's just a 3D project. You're just looking at it like that. It's nothing special. And then if I were to use the VR template, I could actually connect my headset and use Oculus Link, which used to be called Oculus Link, and to turn this into a display, which would be just like a Rift S connected to the computer. So the rendering is done by the computer, not on the headset anymore, but it needs to be tethered. So you can see there's this cable here. So once I use Oculus Link and I make it a VR project and I press the play button, I can actually play it on the device. And it's actually a very comfortable way of working through this. So let's win a little bit of time by just like going through some of the things. So what I show you in some of the videos in the office hour is really like putting together a scene and working with the game view and the scene view and explaining all the panels in Unity if you haven't actually used Unity before. Showing you how to create a layout that I'm using in a lot of my videos, and it just allows me to have all the windows visible for learners. So when I record videos, so normally this is not even my layout. My layout looks like this. It has the build settings here, the project settings, the package manager, because I do a lot of things to get this up to speed and install all the packages. So there's more stuff in, it's basically a walking through the editor in the YouTube playlist. And that's something that if you haven't done a lot of Unity before, it could be helpful. So then, all right, so now let's get started on the first part of the assignment. I quickly do the 3D scene, just walk through, but I want to focus on VR. I think a lot of troubleshooting will be in the VR space, including what kinds of headsets to use. And I'm wondering what kinds of questions you have after this. But the first assignment in the third course, the first honors track assignment, is creating a 3D scene. You would start from like a sketch, or it functions like a template, something that you want to design. For me, it was the solar system. I created this solar system in the second course, and so I'll continue from there. The 3D scene, which is the assignment before the VR assignment, but it makes sense to spend a little bit of time on this, even though this is the office hour focused on VR. In the 3D scene, you would quickly sketch what you plan to recreate in 3D. So usually it's a good idea to base it on something existing, so you can measure and compare. How did you do compared to the template that you had? And so in my residential course, we were just going through this assignment again with my learners. There are also online learners currently. We're doing hybrid learning at the moment at the University of Michigan. So some students come in and some students stay remote. And I saw the most fascinating camping scenes, and some of their scenes were based on movies like Inception, and just really inspirational and actually really cool recreations. Obviously, when you work in this space, you want to probably do your own ideas, not just recreate things. But for practicing, I think it's always good to start from an example, and so to set a goal for yourself. Anyway, that's how the assignments are structured. Then we prototype a 3D scene with 2 to 3 primitives, so just basic shapes. add materials or replace some of them with 3D models to increase the level of fidelity they look. And then I usually in the 3D assignment, I just want people to try out a few different camera perspectives just to get a sense for 3D. And actually, so that could mean that you fly around in the Unity editor, but it could also mean that you actually really insert a couple of different cameras and activate and deactivate some of them. So here is my solar system that I created. And so trying out a few different camera perspectives could be like, okay, right now I think I have the camera roughly here, so it shows where the camera is. What if I started more like from the side view or from further away? We would probably be above the 0. So I fly around with the right clicking in the scene and then WASD, just like in most games, I guess. And so I could also like take a side angle on this further away, or like what I really like is actually zoomed in. So it could be interesting to find a really nice perspective where you have like just like very zoomed in, like something like this. So anyway, that was the 3D assignment. And then when you're like happy with this position, you could copy it, copy this transform and just like put it in there. Oops, that's the transform of the camera. So the current camera position, actually not sure how I would copy the current camera position. Is there actually an option to copy position? That would just copy the position that is entered in here. What I want now is the position of my current virtual camera. Anyway, I would then approximate it roughly, I guess, get it into this position, just like trying to get it here a little bit to the right and a little bit of rotation around the Y, like something like that. And because I have the game view on the right, I can always see roughly what it looks like when I actually started. And then when I started, it looks like this. And I added very simple rotations here. So it's just a very simple rotation script. And in fact, what it does, it rotates the sun, and the Earth is embedded in the sun. And it's interesting that the Earth casts a shadow on the moon. So probably didn't get some of the lighting right. I think I should have worked with a point light in the sun rather than a directional light. I still have a directional light coming from somewhere else, which is just a default light. But then essentially it does rotate the planets themselves. And then because the moon is nested in the Earth, I'll show that in a second in the hierarchy, it should just like appear, should just like come around. It's probably going to be pretty dark, but let's see what this looks like. Anyway, and I made it very slow. I can make it a lot faster too. So I did a little rotation script, but I guess I'm just too captured by the scene, therefore I'm waiting. Okay, come on, where's the moon? It's not there yet. Oh, we've waited so long. It's just like, it's probably right behind. Also, and because I'm not using any other toolkits at the moment, oh, there it is, finally coming. I'm not using any other toolkits at the moment. I cannot actually like, I don't have a camera that is movable, and I cannot fly around while I'm in the game view. But here is our moon. And but I'm going to make it I'm going to set up an MRTK project. A mixed reality toolkit project is the toolkit that I would recommend. So anyway, we've done the 3D assignment now, and it was based on what I did in the last office hour. So my inspiration was this NASA solar system here that I'm going to post for you. You can also play with it very quickly. It's actually really cool. Like it's obviously in a web browser, but like you can zoom in and you can like tilt around, and it has like this kind of like orbital system, and you could double click the sun, and then it would show you this kind of like close-up view, and you can go back and you can pick Earth. So Earth is like somewhere in the orbit there. Yeah. And then we can just like jump onto Earth. And the way they do it is pretty fascinating. It's obviously rendered very nicely. And I'm not sure how real time it is, but the ISS has this orbit around Earth apparently. And I'm not sure whether these ever update or whether it reacts to the current day. I mean, it does show current day and time, so I guess this makes sense if you think about where we are and just like waking up in some parts of the US, I guess. All right, so this is my inspiration. And so in the second course, where I focus on a lot of like prototyping, I did all this prototyping stuff, and I did a critique, and that was at the time still Google Expeditions, which is discontinued, and I don't actually have a very good replacement for Google Expeditions. So I was working on an update to the course instructions, and I put together a few apps that I found. There are some companies who try to be like Google Expeditions, but then they charge you money. Google Expeditions used to be a free mobile app that has really nice 3D experiences of existing places on Earth, or like some museums or like an airport, and then also some more educational ones like on anatomy or like the solar system. Anyway, in the second course, the focus of the second course is on user experience design. Some of you may be in that course, so maybe that is currently what you're working on, and maybe where you have some questions, so I'm happy to help there as well. Anyway, then in the second course, I already show like a few techniques, like working with the 360 grid and like Play-Doh to really model the solar system. And there are some elements in this video where I also then use AR in combination. So this is now an AR capture. It's actually a photo that I placed in AR. So then I can use my phone to view some of the content, and then I can actually use physical objects that I don't have to hold everything in the physical world. I can just anchor some things in AR. And so it becomes a very flexible way of prototyping. And I'm actually always happy with how well these methods are received. I mean, some of these things are coming from my own research, and I created some of my own prototyping tools that I don't maintain. It's very expensive because I don't run a company. Expensive. It would be expensive maintaining them. So I also use a lot of existing standard tools with all their limitations that I try to solve in my research. Here, for example, you can see me use Google Blocks, which is probably also discontinued at this point. Tilt Brush is also did. But so these were some of the immersive authoring tools. Anyway, then for the 3D assignment, I have my sketch. I have a couple of ideas that I wanted to create, and I spent a bit more time on this in the first office hour. So I'm still working on the same project. I'm just like assuming, so last office hour was focused on A-frame, which is one of the paths through the third course. But now I want to focus on Unity, which is working with a cross device kind of like platform. And Unity is a very established tool. And here's my sketch of essentially what I already showed you, what my solution is. So I obviously have the Earth around the sun and the moon around Earth. And I created these animations. So this is the project I just showed you. And I just quickly wanted to go in there and just like in terms of the hierarchy. So I have one script on Earth. So let's say I just like, I nest them all. I do not nest them. So I just like place them like this. It doesn't change anything in terms of their position, but it does make a difference. So each of these have a rotation script, and I'll have them rotate very slowly, but I will rotate them a little faster now. Maybe let's do 3, and the sun, let's just do 1. So if I play it now, and I can show you the rotation script as well, but if I play it now you have all these planets like rotating by themselves, but nobody is actually rotating around anybody else. And so the trick to achieve this is just to work with nesting. So I nest the Earth inside the sun. Therefore, when the sun rotates, the Earth will also rotate. So just proof of concept, but I'll show you now. It flies around. And because the sun is going very quickly, I should now take a different camera position. So I'll just like make sure that my z-axis is probably further away. Oops. Let me see. Camera. Right. And that would actually be now really far away, like minus 100. So in AR, that would be 100 meters away. That's actually really far away. Right. So I can see a tiny, these are the dimensions roughly. I mean, this is what it would look like from somebody very far away. Tiny Earth and a moon around, which you can't even see. So anyway, I'm going to undo this because, okay, what I didn't do is actually, right, let's just leave it there. And so the last thing I do is I'll actually have I'll make this a little bit slower again, so it doesn't look so crazy. I'll just have the moon also go around the sun, and it's the same principle. I'll just nest the moon inside Earth. Sorry, I said sun just now. I mean, technically that's not completely wrong, but we want the moon to go around Earth, and then those two together go around the sun. Okay, and the rotation script is really nothing too special. Just opening it in Visual Studio. In fact, I think I found an example when you look for rotation in Unity. What I did is just like, so the rotate script takes whatever the current object is, the current game object, and I don't actually have to, actually I don't have to do anything here. I don't need the start one. I just did this one was like, I guess, just like a first example that would have rotated it by 60 degrees on start. But what I want is basically in the update function, which is called every frame, I want to rotate it a little bit, and I want to use the time, the delta time that is passed into, that I have access to in the update function, that allows me to, basically the time that has passed since I started this, this application, and that will be longer, obviously, the more frames have passed. And then if I multiply it by a certain speed, so for example, 1 or 2 or 3, it'll move faster. And if I want to have it rotate the other way around, I just use a -1. So it usually rotates this way, and so I wanted it to rotate that way. Okay, so that's the script, and then I just applied it to all the components. Sorry, then I made it a component for all these objects. I have sun, I have Earth, which I guess was 1 or 1.2 or something, I forgot. And then the moon, I remember I did quite a bit faster, like so that it looks more visible. And this is now roughly what I had in the beginning. Anyway, so this is my 3D scene. We still haven't seen it in VR, so let's go into VR. Cool. So now comes the tricky part. So there are actually more videos. Actually, the whole solar system I created in 3 videos. I do a basic scene setup. I apply textures and materials that I got from NASA, essentially. And this would be the part where you increase this is the third step in the assignment, where you increase the fidelity, maybe bring in a 3D model. So I could bring in this Luna module from, I found it before on Sketchfab. So working with 3D models, I would often go for free models from Sketchfab, for example. And I showed this in the last office hour. So the same stuff applies here. I would use an FBX, so that's important in Unity. I would work with FBX as the file format. GLTF is what I talked about in the last office hour for web, the global transition format. GLTF is recommended, but for Unity we would work with FBX. And then I don't actually have a 3D model in here. All these are basic 3D shapes with materials, and I initially color them, and then I replace it with textures. And you could even do some combinations of that. Anyway, and then I add lighting and change the background from the standard Unity background here to something more stars and sky using a 360 video. All right, so we're going to go into VR now. So once we are in VR, so the idea of the VR assignment is you'll continue from your 3D scene And we'll need to add a kind of like an XR camera into the scene. So all these toolkits, and I show you the toolkits that I choose. So I'm solving this now with Unity, and I'm using Oculus integration package to connect to my Quest, and then Unreal Engine. Sorry, Unreal Engine. I'm not using Unreal Engine. And then mixed reality toolkit for some of the interactions. It's just a setup that I recommend because I think it takes you very far, and I'll show you each of these components now, each of these toolkits. And then what you would do in the assignment is you first prepare your scene by adding a new camera rig. So this rig allows you to, in most toolkits, allows you to teleport and to take the controllers with you. Also shows the controllers when you have on the right, it shows the right controllers. So we show the white ones with the Quest, or the black ones with the Oculus Rift. And I will still need to decide which headset I'm gonna choose, because I guess they renamed Oculus Link or something. I just can't find it in the Quest anymore. But I'll still refer to things with the terminology. Meta is working very hard to get rid of everything that's called Oculus at the moment. But so really removing that as a brand, and so it's the Meta Quest now. It still says Oculus up here, but you can't see that, I guess. But that is confusing. So I just couldn't do the Oculus link just a second ago, but we'll try again. Otherwise, I'll switch to my Rift S. But I'll show you two different ways to deploy or run it a VR scene. The most important thing is, what makes it a VR scene is like adding the camera rig. And then once you have that in there, you can actually view the scene in VR, which means on the headset through the goggles. And then you would normally want to adapt the scene, like maybe scale it differently, maybe take a different camera position, maybe change the layout completely, because now the scale in a headset is very different from looking at it on a screen. And then the third step is to make it more immersive. So adding, for example, an environment, a terrain. I'll show you some examples there, lights, sounds, all that. And then add support for travel, which usually you get. The locomotion is usually supported with the toolkits that I recommended. So even just Oculus integration package has all the support already, but you could use, so I will use mixed reality toolkit. You could also use XR interaction toolkit, which is Unity native. I just don't like the look so much to it, but it does have examples of menus and teleportation. And actually I wanted to find, I think I have a mixed reality toolkit here, but I also wanted to quickly show the XR interaction toolkit. So in the first week of the third course, we're going through all the different toolkits. And so Steam VR is obviously another way to do it, but here is XR interaction toolkit. So I'll just make that part of my slide deck here. Okay, it's like an office hour where you can watch me edit my slides. Cool. All right, so we're just going to place that roughly in the middle. I won't obsess too much about it, but this would be XR interaction toolkit. That's an alternative. They're not. You would use one or the other. This is an important slide. I want to show you. Did I finish the one before we would do object manipulation? So at the end of my little office hour, like in about 10 minutes, I guess, we would be able to interact with the objects. So mixed reality toolkit is a toolkit that I've featured a few times throughout the MOOC. It's still under active development. It's done by Microsoft. It's really quite good. It was originating as Holo toolkit. It was just for the HoloLens. And here I show example videos on HoloLens 2 rather than a Quest, but you can actually get things, you can actually get it to work. It has support for both VR and AR, including mobile AR as well. So if you're working on the AR assignments later, so next time in the office hour, I talk about a few different ways to solve the AR assignments in Unity. And one is using AR Foundation with Microsoft's mixed reality toolkit, and then deploying to an AR Core, ARKit enabled smartphone, or an iPad with ARKit. But then I'll also briefly talk about how to deploy to a HoloLens. I don't expect that a lot of learners have access to a HoloLens. It's still $3,500, but sometimes people do. And obviously I designed these courses for the majority, but I'm happy to answer questions. So this is my recommended setup for the VR assignment. You start from the 3D template. You could start from the VR template. I guess I was at some version in Unity, I was very specific about it, but right now, I would say 3D template still. You need to enable the XR plugin management. I show all that in a separate video. This process, setting this up, takes 30 minutes in itself. I use the Oculus XR plugin to actually get all the, to be able, so this gives me, with this, I then have, here's my MRTK project. When I have all that in there, I have, this then becomes options once I have the Oculus VR and the XR plugin in there. And so it's here under XR plugin management. That would normally be like enable it now, and then you enable it and it installs a bunch of packages into your tool. And then I can render to an Oculus headset right when I press start, or I can just render, I can just deploy it to Oculus, which would be going through the build settings, which I think I have here. It just opens this tab, and it's currently fetching connected devices, but probably the Quest is not on at the moment. But once it's on, it would like appear in there. I'll switch it on so it becomes an option. Right now it should be probably empty. And so once I have the Quest started, it was just charging. But once I have it started, it should become an option here as well. And that way I can deploy. But anyway, I shouldn't be tempted to try this now because I know this takes a long time and I've pre-recorded this. Let me see, now is my Oculus Quest here. It's connected. And I could actually pick this, build and run, and it would actually do it. I'll do it a third time then. So I'll build this in the background and try to get it running on the Quest while I talk to you. So, and then I also use the Oculus integration package and MRTK. So Mixed Reality Toolkit is the recommended toolkit that gives me all these hand interactions and menus and dialogues and widgets and 3D objects I can manipulate. So it's just a cool starting point. Also comes with various sample scenes. But I just use the MRTK Foundation package. It has foundation examples, has like 5 packages. So all we need is foundation for now. And then I have 2 ways to do it, to reach my Quest. One is, well, you need to connect it via USB in order to deploy to it. Unless you're using other software like SideQuest, you can probably do a wireless upload somehow. But I usually just connect my Quest to the computer, and then it says enable data. Which is currently happening right now. So, and let me see whether I can get SideQuest to work so you can see roughly what I'm seeing in my headset. While, oh yeah, while it's updating. Well, let's see whether this kind of like works. So, well, this led to some terrible rendering issues here on the headset now. I'm not sure what's happening. It looks like broken. I've never seen this before. Anyway, I'm just going to allow and hope it'll be fine after this. It just stopped the stream here, right? Okay. Let me just like, let's not break the headset now. It's already quite bad. Okay. So I would use SideQuest sometimes to just show to people what I see in the headset. So here right now, normally, just yesterday, when I was looking at this part, it would show up as Oculus Link. So I'm not sure what they just did. I have no idea where it is, but it used to be here. It used to be an option, and right now it's not showing up. And instead it shows me the Guardian only. And I have no idea actually how to enable it at the moment. This would be me. But if somebody knows and has this problem as well, it cannot fix it right now. I will just switch to my other headset. Because the only thing I could show right now is actually what I'm doing at the moment. It's actually deploying it. So I'm deploying it to my headset, which means it becomes like an application here as an unknown source. And then you can see some of the scenes that I have previously, which, oops, the stream stopped. Sorry about that. I don't know what's going on. I guess I should have not detected. Yeah. Anyway, this part was fun, right? I guess I don't want to update this. It's a really big red update button that really want you to, they really want you to press it right now. Unauthorized, allow in headset. Okay, let's see. One more time. Okay, USB debugging, yes. Allow. Okay, it's currently not functioning the way I want it to function, so I'll do it. I'll switch to my other headset. 1 second. So me stopping this also means that I will not be able to successfully deploy it to my Quest headset right now, because I just disconnected it. What I'll show you instead is, so I have a video of that, but what I'll show you instead is actually using the Quest in combination with Oculus Link, which is really enabling this in the headset. It used to be called Oculus Link, and then the rendering happens actually on the computer. This is an option when you have a good computer, and it's the same as using a Rift S headset. So that's why I'm doing this. And okay, so the alternative to MRTK would have been XR Interaction Toolkit. You could use that, and you will find instructions on how to set it up, but they're on their website. And it has teleportation, like what I show here. And it has various interactive behaviors, like grabbing objects. Like most of these toolkits have like standard support for grabbing, picking, sometimes snapping to the controller. Like these are snap interactions, and different kinds of behaviors that you get for free. Then we also need the Oculus integration package. It was one of the things I showed here in my deployment slide. Very important, Oculus integration package. We need that obviously if you develop for Oculus. If you develop for a different headset, then my instructions will not apply. But the Oculus integration package is just an asset that you get from the Unity asset store, which you then just add to your assets and import into your project. And I show all this in my 35-minute video, I guess, which is this one here. So this is the whole setup, and I go through all the different ways of deploying to a headset. And then one of the things is, once I have enabled Oculus integration, as if I anticipated this wouldn't work today, once I have enabled Oculus Link on the headset, I can actually use the headset once I press the play button, which is just like using a Rift. So I want to show very quickly 2 ways. So when you have everything set up the way I have set it up, when you launch it, you can say, yes, I want to run it on the Oculus, or you can disable this for a second. And because we're using Mixed Reality Toolkit, here's a standard scene with some interactive behaviors. I can now use a mouse and a keyboard to fly around in this scene. And then I can have hand interactions, which right now I guess is teleporting. But I can also grab objects with the right mouse here. So I have configured this in different ways. And I think I also have videos about how to actually configure all this for simulating interaction like here on a computer. But let's just like stop this scene, and I'll show you so this was just running it in a simulation on a computer. But then when I press Oculus here, I'm not deploying right now to my Quest 2. I'm just instead using my Rift S, my known and trusted Rift S, which is currently malfunctioning. I mean, what the hell is going on? Let me see. No, it is red. I will reconnect it one more time. I guess my side quest messed up something, but I'll close that now. Yes. And it just fell back to rendering on the computer. So one last attempt. So proud of my new computer. Everything was working fine. So, so this is the whole setup that I described in my video. How to create a new project, enable the XR plugin management and project settings, what you do for Quest specifically. You need to get all the Android stuff I showed initially, install Oculus integration package, MRTK Foundation package, just to have all that. And then if you wanted to deploy to your Quest, you would go through these extra steps of actually deploying and running on the device. You have to be an Oculus developer. It's something you have to set up in the app, in the Oculus app. So that's something you may have to Google a little bit because it's not straightforward always. And I don't know what kind of Facebook accounts you have, but so you need to become a developer in the app, and then you are able to deploy. And most of this is covered in my 35-minute video. And I just want to show, I guess, two more things. One thing that I think is part of the assignment is actually setting up a little bit of a terrain. So this is something that I think you'll have a lot of fun with in Unity. I have a video on that as well. So I'm opening my terrain project here. Gonna bring back the Unity hub for that. Wonder which one that is. Does it say this one is called terrain example and MRTK project? Okay, I have that one open already. So this is the standard interaction scene that I have, but I have a different one, which is this terrain here. And I am just gonna, let me see whether I can actually run it. It's still red, so I guess I have to restart my Oculus. Let me see. I can do that hopefully in the background. Restart Oculus. Okay. And I will just disable it here for, yeah, something is really wrong. I'll probably have to restart the computer. I'll show you what the problem is. So I would normally go here and do restart, and would normally actually allow me to restart it. But and it's this red light here in the Quest is not good. And that just means that the tracking right now is not working. And it probably shows me an error message somewhere that I'm just like too nervous now because nothing is working that I don't see. But I'll just try, you know, doing the good computer scientist thing and just can't even close the app here. Anyway, so I'll show you the video instead, but and I run it here in simulation. So I created this terrain example. I guess there's cheese in there because a student asked me something about that. But you can just like walk around in this scene. And in VR, you would be able to teleport. It doesn't always work, I guess. Now the camera is below the terrain. That's unfortunate. Let me try this one more time. But I created this kind of like a beautiful-ish, I mean, for my standards, never mind the cheese there, scene where you have a little bit of a mountain in the background and a lot of trees. And so I show all this in my video as well, how I did that. So it is one of the steps in the assignment, ask you to create a nice environment. And so for that, this is actually then running it, I guess, on my VR headset. So let's just this is also simulation here, and I'm pretty sure this is now me in the headset. And I guess I had some problems sometimes with where I spawned, and I fixed it at the end of the video. I just moved the scene a little bit lower, and once the scene is a little bit lower, it actually makes a lot more sense walking around and navigating. So I'll just click through the last slides here. The video again that I also share with creating this terrain, which is like essentially one of the steps in the VR assignment. Together with deployment, you kind of like have everything that you need then. And the last thing is adding manipulation to objects. So in order to set up the terrain, you need to enable the preview packages. That is something you need to do in the package manager under project settings. That's also described in detail there. So please refer to that video. I just mentioned it very quickly here, but I think this is not the guide. I would refer to the video. Then you get the terrain tools, sample asset pack, and then I start like creating a terrain. The first thing I do is actually lower and raise it. So these are the tools here that I can actually use right now, even now. Just make this a little bit smaller. So if I wanted to create a new mountain or something, I would just go to the terrain tools, and this is paint trees. I already forgot it. That's crazy. Raise a lower terrain, and that way I can just like I can use a different brush here. So it comes with different kind of terrain style brushes, and then I click there, and the more I click, the more it raises it. And so you can create a mountain. Like this, probably where my starting point was. Probably not a good idea. I just destroyed it. You can see it on in the preview here. This is not actually where I want the mountain, but maybe I'll put a new mountain here in the background. You can see how it like looks from the camera starting point position. And then I actually should paint different textures on it as well to make it look like the other ones, make it look a little bit nicer. But anyway, so this is fun, and you'll probably spend some time painting textures and then adding trees, and I show all that in the video. And the last thing I wanted to show is actually adding manipulation. I just showed you the scene where you have like a cube in front of you that is very easily done with the object manipulator in the MRTK in the mixed reality toolkit. And they have instructions for how to set it up. But basically, you would just add the object manipulator component to the object. And I'll just go back to my sample scene with a cube. That is what I did here with a cube. By the way, all the content in mixed reality should go under mixed reality scene content. Per default, people always put in the root, but that's not how it's supposed to be. And here's our cube. There we go. And then there I have the object manipulator, and it's a lot of stuff that I set up, but I also set up near interaction and far interaction, and this is still red. So, and this never restarted. Luckily we have kind of like a backup video. So I'll show you, wow, 1 second. The manipulation stuff. So there is, I'll end my video, my office hour official part, which was supposed to end a long time ago with all the trouble. Here at the end is the Unity testing and deploy, and also setting up the cube and all that to actually run it on the headset, and then just go into full screen. And this is what should have happened. So when you do the Oculus Link, and then you have like the Rift S, like either the Oculus Link from the Quest 2 headset, like this one connected via USB, or the Rift S, it's the same thing. Then I can just run it in my editor, and I can just grab the object once I set up the Oculus, once I set up the object manipulator, sorry. And also works with hand tracking on the Quest. So I actually wanted to show that, but unfortunately, let's see what questions we have. I'll just stop here sharing my screens and just wondering what kinds of questions learners have. And thanks for watching this so far and attending. All right. We can have a bit of interaction now. If you wanted to just ask in the chat or unmute yourself and tell me what you're wondering, we can do that now. Well, I'll still try to fix the headset, I guess. But I am here. No questions so far. In the chat, we have just a prompt for questions. What I'll do is I'll restart the computer here in the meantime, in case there's, I will still be here, so just the other guy who's leaving. All right, let me just see. No questions? Okay, so, well, these are then some of my tips. As I said, I was focusing mostly on the third course, the VR portion. There is additional materials that will link nicely into the MOOC. I think the office hour last time is just hidden somewhere in the MOOC. I'll rearrange it a little bit to make it a bit more prominent, and I'll also add new content to the MOOC so that you can find the YouTube playlist, the videos a little easier. And I just didn't have the time yet to do that, but we got the video is somewhere in the MOOC, the one from the first one. This one will also go in the MOOC. For the HTC Vive, do you recommend a toolkit? So that's a good question. So I have never really done a lot with the HTC Vive. I would probably use Steam VR. So I remember when we a few years ago, when I taught still in residentially, we have a really big computer room with like 22 headsets at Michigan. I mean, it's not so big, but it's kind of feels like big. 4 of them are HTC Vives, and so when we did that year, we used Steam VR. So Steam VR is probably the toolkit that I use. So every year that I've been teaching my courses, I've always used a different toolkit. First year was Steam VR, then I used XR Interaction Toolkit, and now I'm using Mixed Reality Toolkit for the last 2 years. But I would use Steam VR, and it is one of the toolkits that I go through in my course, Steam VR. The first video is in the week 1 discussion board. That's right. That's where we put it, but we'll make it nice content as part of the honors track, and I'll write a little introduction to it, and we'll just make sure that learners can find it. I had trouble finding it, but it is in the MOOC. So Steam VR, yes, that would be my answer. And you can actually do, like, the setup is slightly differently, but it follows similar principles. I guess you would use a different kind of integration for the HTC Vive, so different kind of Unity assets. But it's the same idea. You get the packages, you set up the scene, and you make it, there must be some kind of plugin to deploy to the headset. Just like I chose Oculus there should be a different option than for HTC Vive. But I actually haven't done any active HTC Vive development on in a long time, and probably never have. I just know that we had a few students use it in class. It's a cool. I mean, I still have the Lighthouse. I mean, there's a Kinect and there's no Lighthouse there. Lighthouse is in the other corner. You can't see it right now. I have Lighthouse there and Lighthouse there, and I used to use the HTC Vive, but it's 5 years ago now, I think, 4 years. Thank you very much, Thomas. Yeah, so still happy to answer any questions. We have, I can stay like maybe 3-5 more minutes, and if there are any questions, I was mostly watching Michael struggle with his computer, and I swear I had everything ready and running, and it's just like, did this to me again. Let me see whether my Oculus it's white now. Imagine it's a happy Oculus headset now. So while we're still recording, because I can't let you go this way, this is just like, this is unacceptable. I will just so that it's not it's not another video with Michael's failing to get all this kind of like working in his office hours. What is he doing? So I will just make sure that I'll show, I'll be just live. I mean, it doesn't make a big difference because it's still video for you. But where does it actually go? Hang on 1 second. Yeah, I'll just come back into this course and just like run my little project here for 1 second while I can. Oh, we ran out of space. Unity says project folder or disk is read only. What? Never seen that before. So just checking. Are there any other questions? Nope. You're probably just waiting. All right. Let me just make sure. I need to show you this. I've never seen this before. Please move the project folder somewhere else readable. I don't know what's going on. So I was just trying to open my MRTK project and it says it's already open. Cool. Here we go. Ta-da, finally. And so when I have everything set up properly, I should be able to click Oculus here. And I guess it would be SteamVR or something like that as one of these things. And then when I press play and actually run it in a headset, now comes the magic moment when everything launches. So I see the Oculus app launching on my computer, and it's now tracking my headset. And it's starting to render here as well. And I saw it for like 1 second, but then, and I'll show you. So this is roughly what I see in my headset as well. And just need to find all the controllers here for a second. And it says the tracking is pretty bad at the moment. So, but here is the cube, and I'm just like wondering, can you see how I'm interacting with it? Okay, cool. And so now I have basic interactions like this object manipulator, so I can like rotate, I can scale it up, scale it down. And on my Quest, I can additionally just use my hands. I would have hand tracking, and I could grab the object. And obviously it would be super awesome if I could show that too now, but probably stretching it. I will just go one. I would just go one. I just need to do this 1 second. Sorry, I cannot let it go. And this is why these assignments are so evil, because when they don't work, you feel like, oh my God, I really want to get this to work. And so I'm just still pretty angry that it didn't work before. So we're just doing this for me here, not necessarily for you anymore, but it is still being recorded. So I allow access. I'm now connecting a different, should use the white controllers, a different headset. We're definitely going a little bit over time here. Based on what I have. Oh, now Oculus Link is a thing, and I can actually, so I have Oculus Link, which is USB cable to computer. It doesn't look very different for you because I still press play here, but it won't work now because I actually haven't enabled it. So I'll quickly just enable Oculus Link, which is an option here now. Yippee, finally came up. So launching on the headset, it's looking like a Rift S now, but you will see one difference. I can use my hands. And when I now start, when I now press play here, it's now actually my Quest. And you can see my hands. Can you see my hands? Yeah, you can see my hands. And now I can actually interact with this object just using hands. And that is, of course, something that you can only do with a Quest, but it is pretty cool. And I have near interaction, and I have far interaction, which is when these lasers come out of my hands. And these are things that I get kind of like for free, this kind of behavior with the object manipulator. And so I'm now a little happier, and I think I can let you go with this little demonstration. If there are no other questions, I would conclude the office hour here. There are no other questions. So basically, I'll release additional videos. We link it nicely into the course. And yeah, use the forums. Or yeah, and when you're done, what I really want to do, I want to thank all the learners that have completed the courses so far. It's quite a few. I really love reading your stories on LinkedIn And when you add me on LinkedIn, I'll get to celebrate a little bit with you. So for those who have managed to graduate from the course, we will soon have first year of graduates, actually more than a year of graduates now. So maybe we can get them together and do something fun, chat at some point. Those of us who are currently still enrolled in some of the courses, hope you find them interesting, a little entertaining sometimes, and overall useful. And so good luck with all the assignments, and I hope you have nice interactions with the fellow learners. Check out the galleries that are linked throughout the courses. I was just browsing through them. So for example, in the second course, we have so many critiques of existing XR experiences, more than 120. So you will find lots of examples of other apps you can use to critique. And so I know that Google Expeditions currently is not an option, and I owe an update to the XM MOOC. But I just wanted to say that one more time here. So thanks everybody for coming, and I hope you have a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.